creates a lot of revenue. When Kim Russell from Channel 7 said we went from 100 and something to 800 and something, it's because there's a problem. There's a problem. And these are violating people's constitutional rights, and that's a huge problem. And everybody should be concerned, and everybody should come out and see exactly how these are being handled. And then they should all be as outraged as we all are that this can even happen to people every day. So, there's that issue. And I just wanted to share with people, something happened last week and I really can't seem to shake it. A group of us, after we attended court that morning for the other hearing in Judge Lane's courtroom, we all decided to go to the county commissioners meeting. And at first we thought we would get up and speak and stuff, but it was like, you know what, let's just go get a feel for this and see where we're at. Because we had already, one of the members of the Justice for Oakley page had reached out to the county commissioners, and I believe she sent them all a letter in regards to this situation and her concerns with it. And she received one letter back. But before we get into that, I want to talk about what that meeting looked like to me, and I haven't been able to shake it. There was a couple issues that came up, and two ladies from our community have concerns with animal control, and they've had issues repeatedly when there were responses, and there's abuse of animals going on and stuff like this. So they came forward and presented their case with pictures and posters and everything. And one of the ladies also had, I am not sure if it was her daughter or her granddaughter, assisted her in holding up these posters and stuff. And so we were watching this take place, and you had all the commissioners sitting up there, and they just literally were all blankly staring into space, and with no reaction, no show of any empathy, concern, or anything for anything she was speaking of. And I was like, they don't even care. I mean, really, you could see it on their face that they absolutely did not care. So I don't understand that. Whether they agreed with what she was saying or not, just the lack of respect for her being a citizen in this county that more than likely helped get you elected into the position you're in. And I was bothered. They literally sat there until her 3 minutes were up and the bell went off, and the gentleman, I guess it's his job to let you know that your 3 minutes is up, and because it wasn't already obvious when she heard the bell, I'm sure, that's all she got. Nothing, absolutely nothing, no response, no anything. And I served on a board for 7 years, and I truly can't imagine at the time anyone sitting on the board along with me, where one of the members would bring a concern to us and there was absolutely nothing. And I get that somehow maybe they can't say certain things in their position, and I get that for legal reasons more than likely. But at some point there's human empathy and respect. And that lady deserved it, whether you agreed with her or not. So that was very disappointing to me. So some advice that I would give everybody in this county, the people voting, it's one thing to go out and support and join on these campaigns and listen to other people and stuff like that. But I really think we all owe it to ourselves to start attending these meetings, because literally, other than our group, I think there was maybe 6-10 people at a county commissioners meeting. And they're making a lot of big decisions about our county. And they kind of direct where we're going, really. So I I was astounded that there was only 6 people other than our group at this meeting.
Right.
That blew my mind. And then, that I think everybody should attend these meetings prior to voting for people. Because what you see out in the general public and when you see them out at different events and stuff like that, and being their friend and interacting socially with them and all those things, that looks a whole lot different sometimes as to what their behavior is when they're sitting at that table.
In that position of power.
And how they're treating the public. And I think people should really attend these meetings to get a good idea of everybody's character that they're
In
voting
line
for.
with that, can I ask, out of all those letters that the member from Justice for Oakley sent out, how many responses did you get back from your county commissioners?
We only received one, and it was from Bill Graytop, and whether that's because he drew the short straw, or he chose to be the only one that thought he should give his response, he was the only one. And, I'm gonna talk about that for a minute. Mr. Graytop, in his response to, Ms. Hahn's letter, which really truly was about the concerns on the Justice for Oakley page that brought us to this point, which I'm gonna share with Mr. Graytop, because I'm not sure he did his homework. It's about a little girl that's allowed access to a twice convicted sex offender that is living in the woods in a dirt floor shack along a public bike trail and butting up to a campground Fort Tribe. Okay, so, and my granddaughter is allowed to interact with this man. The great-grandfather actually brings my granddaughter out to the shack in the woods, and she is allowed to interact with him up at their home. So, there's my first concern is Mr. Graytop. I don't know that he really did his homework, but that's the truth here. So in his response, he did inform Ms. Hahn that he's not in a position to do anything in this situation, but that he did contact Judge Tomlinson and Mike McMillan, and they let him know that they were well aware of the situation. And he also informed us about good friends he is of theirs, and that he believed that they would do the right thing and to let the courts handle this. That was Mr. Graytop's response. So, Mr. Graytop, let me tell you, if they were doing the right thing, we wouldn't be sitting here. Okay, so Judge Tomlinson is totally disregarding CPS's recommendation in a report that says my granddaughter is to have 0 contact with this man. And this fight has been an ongoing fight for my son, trying to protect his daughter for 18 months. And Mr. McMillan thought that it would be a good idea to contact my son on his personal cell phone and advise him to be careful about what he posts on social media in regards to our Justice for Oakley page. And everybody, including those 2 gentlemen and Mr. Graytop, and everybody that received a letter in the commissioners, the members, the board, before you decide to tell us your personal opinion or lack thereof, you should probably have looked at the facts that are included on the Justice for Oakley page, and I believe they're also on the Turner Review page.
I have to ask, the fact that he's good friends with them and believes in them on a personal level, what about the professional aspect of this? Did he bother to look to see what their decisions were and how they were looking over this case? Because if we can't go to these officials, what's the point of having them elected into office?
Right.
I had told Trey, one of the things that I discovered in my son's case, which I'll touch on briefly here in a minute, was the fact that when we went to CMH and asked them to please investigate what had happened with my son, and we went above them to see if they could investigate what had happened in my son's case, we found out that Community Mental Health actually investigates themselves. Lapeer investigated Port Huron. Well, they're not gonna turn themselves in for all the mistakes that they made. And just a brief overview of my case is my son was in Judge Tomlinson's courtroom. He had originally, through the Waiting for Disaster series with Ross Jones from WXYZ, had done an interview with Ross and talked about the lack of care he got through CMH.
In St. Clair County.
Yes, yes. And in telling his story, my son was very much an advocate for assisted outpatient treatment. He believed in it highly, and thought it could be beneficial. Through talking with Ross, through Ross's Waiting for Disaster series, we found out about a very little-known used law called Kevin's Law, which allowed parents of adult children or friends of somebody to actually petition the courts for care when someone with brain disease is not taking care of themselves or getting the help that they need or being on medication. Kevin's Law was a very underutilized law. It was being used in Oakland County very successfully, Wayne County very successfully, had never been used in St. Clair County. After his initial meeting with Ross, after the initial interview with